Welcome to a Leader's Journey podcast. I'm your host, Joel Gunn. Today I have my friend Dan Rocconi with me. Dan's from the East Coast, about an hour outside of Boston. He's the president and CEO of a company there, formerly with DuPont. He is a graduate of the Air Force Academy and got his master's from OU, which we Texans won't hold against you, Dan, but welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Joel. I appreciate it.
So on this show, we like to jump right into the meat of it.
Great.
So, can you share a story maybe from your past that really had a profound impact on your leadership style today?
Sure. So you mentioned in the intro, I graduated from the Air Force Academy. So at a pretty young age, I was an officer in the Air Force and thrown right into leadership. And didn't know anything. Many days today, I think I don't know anything, but so I was assigned, my first assignment was in Omaha, Nebraska, and I had a small shift crew of enlisted guys working second shift. And, day one, I'm in charge of them, and I don't know anything about the mission. I don't know what's going on. I don't know a lot about leadership. And I had two strikes against me from the start because in the military, academy grads have a certain reputation, and sometimes that reputation is earned. Being arrogant and looking down on people. The second strike was the guy who had the job before me, I took the place of, was an academy grad. I actually knew him from the academy. He was a little older than me. And he honestly fit that mold a little bit of being a little arrogant and had stepped on some toes. So I think the expectation was I was going to be like that. Fortunately, I was aware enough to know I knew nothing. And I really was not embarrassed to admit that. I was able to step in and let the guys know, hey, I need your help. Let's be successful together. And was in that role just, a couple of weeks. And my NCOIC, that's non-commissioned officer in charge. So he's the senior enlisted guy that's kind of my right-hand man. And he was phenomenal and much more experienced than I had, understood things at a much better, deeper level. Lots of experience with leadership. And I was there a couple of weeks, and he took me, and it's at night, so we're working like 3 to midnight type thing. And he took me aside. He said, well, we've been talking, Lieutenant. We like you. We're going to take care of you. And that was about the best thing I ever heard at that age. But just, learning earlier, the military, I feel like there's some misconceptions. So, it is not traditionally very dictatorial. It's not, just giving orders. Now, yes, in the heat of battle, you're giving orders. They have to be followed. They can't really be questioned. But the day-to-day, the training, the planning, it is very collaborative. The good leaders, and there's a ton of really good leaders in the military. They're taking that information from everybody. They're making sure everybody's heard. And there's a couple of things. Well, one thing the academy did, which I thought was really good, is they saw that these young officers were coming out of the academy and not respecting the enlisted to the level they should, not understanding how great these enlisted guys were, how much they knew. And so we actually had classes run by people from the enlisted ranks, which was a change. Most of your classes are run by officers. And so we got to interact with just some of the sharpest guys. I remember them clearly just coming in and just squared away and sharp and just great leaders and presented so well. So you gain that appreciation. And I think that's a great lesson, broadly, exposure to different peoples of different culture and backgrounds and ideas and is a good thing. And you should seek that out and get more of that. It's going to improve you as a leader. Oh, go, please.
You mentioned it a moment ago. They said we've met and we've decided we like you and we're going to help. And I wasn't there, but I imagine the context was we're going to help make you successful. We're going to, make you look good. We're going to take care of you. We're going to train you to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I had heard this in different ways over the years, but leaders don't really succeed unless somebody wants them to.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so as you carried that, forward in life, how did that serve you? Where did you continue to collaborate, continue to be humble enough to ask questions?
Right, right. Well, the other thing that you take away from the military is this concept of take care of the troops and let the troops take care of the mission. And I've really carried that. And I think it folds in well with my faith to take care of people, to respect people. And and I fail at this all the time, but I try to adopt this servant leadership approach. And so it's taking the pyramid where traditionally I'd be on top, flipping that upside down. And my job is to create an environment to focus on my direct reports, create an environment where they're going to thrive, where they're going to be successful. And then I want their attention to be on their direct reports, not on me. I don't want them wasting a lot of time putting together presentations for me, making sure I'm in the know on everything. I don't want to be making all the decisions. I don't, and that does a couple of things. One, if you're making all the decisions, if you have everything has to flow through you, then you're capping that organization, and you're gonna grow to a certain level, and that's all the growth you're gonna have. But you also, in that type of approach, you're going to attract the best talent. And for whatever reason, I have, I will put my leadership team up against anybody. They are phenomenal. They've all come from big companies. We're a smaller company. They're thriving there. They're leading the company well. They want to stay. They're excited to be there. They're excited to participate. And I think I don't think people who are wired that way are going to stay somewhere where they're just told what to do every day and aren't making decisions. So, but yeah,
So as you moved into various leader roles throughout your career, and you moved into a different organization, from day one, did you expect your direct reports to not be micromanaged? Did you have to train some of them that it was okay to make decisions, empower them, give them
yeah,
confidence?
yeah, that's a good question. And I've seen a few different things and learned a few different things in changing roles. So first of all, I'm not this high energy 80-hour a week guy. So I need people who are going to step up and do the real work. So yeah, so I've seen, I think kind of three buckets. I was able to hire people from the outside that already had it. They knew what they were stepping into through the interview process, through the networking, through, I knew some of these guys, and they knew what they were stepping into, working for me, with me. I inherited the other two buckets are employees that I inherited, and there was one group that really loved to step into a different type of role where they were more autonomous, making decisions, and really called on to be change agents. We're not you're not here to manage the status quo. We have to get better. And some of those really stepped up and did that. Yes, there was training. Yeah, there were some stumbles along the way, but you just knew one of our core values is ownership. And you figure out pretty quickly, some people just get that idea of ownership, and that they need to move that forward. And there was a group that just didn't get it. And maybe if I had managed them better, maybe if there was training, maybe they might have, but they had to leave the organization. Most self-selected, had to let a couple go. But to change the culture the way we wanted to, we did have to make some of those tough decisions.
Mhm.
There, but the other thing I noticed, I thought was interesting, there were a couple of guys that I did not think were going to make it, and they actually got moved to different roles. Actually, one of them stayed in the same role but had a different manager than me, and and he's flourishing. So under me, he didn't. Under this other guy, he did. And hey, stuff to learn there. I was pretty sure he was always going to be kind of a B minus player. He's an A plus player for us now under this different manager.
Yeah, and I do think managers and how they manage people matters a lot more than maybe sometimes we give it credit. We tend to assume it's the individuals,
Yeah,
and not always. I mean, there's enough times that happens that it's a good assumption, but
yeah, yeah.
it's
Well, and
like you said, it's not always the case.
yeah, I didn't have high enough expectations for this employee. The other
Hmm.
manager did. He saw something that I didn't, and leaned into it. And it's a huge success story. He's one of my favorite guys at work.
Wow, wow. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, a lot of us leaders, it's hard to be humble and say, "Hey, I screwed up," or misread that, or mismanaged that.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you're willing to be transparent, I appreciate that.
We could have a year of shows on things I've screwed up. So
Well, speaking of that, what have been some of your greatest failures and what did you learn
Yeah.
from them?
So what one that always stands out, one that I like to talk about because I think there were some good lessons for me in it. So we're manufacturing. We work in the dental industry and footwear industry and some other markets. And when COVID hit, people stopped going to the dentist. People stopped buying shoes. I mean, it was I had friends in other industries were killing it. Because whatever industry, food delivery or whatever, that just the COVID drove more business. Exact opposite for us. We really struggled revenue wise during COVID, and we're getting a little desperate, getting concerned, and everybody's talking about pivot. Oh, you got to pivot, you got to pivot. And we did, and it was a disaster. So we found a company we had been working with. One of the guys from that company kind of broke away, and he was going to do some other things COVID related. Um, so we were going to help him with that. And he was not somebody, we should have been jumping into bed with. We knew that, but we were desperate. We didn't understand the market we were going into. We knew that, but we were desperate. And I got the board on one side. What are we going to do? I got the employees and I got the company, all this pressure. And instead of taking a step back and really saying, there's three big red flags here. We all see this. Yes, pivot is right, but this is not the opportunity. And if we had, we probably could have found other opportunities. And it cost us money in the long run. We got stuck with inventory. As soon as China landed a container with that product on it, guys were just tearing up their contracts and like, go sue me. What are you going to do? And we got stuck with inventory. We got payments that were owed to us that never got paid. And fortunately, God saw us through all that and we survived that tough time and we've come out of it well now. But again, just this, taking a breath, yes, as a leader, you have to take action. You have to move the company forward, but you need to be thoughtful. You need to take that breath. You need to look at the data. You need to trust your gut. Honestly, I was like, I just don't think this is a good idea, but and just, and again, probably some insecurity there. I felt like I had to do something.
Mhm.
And I have a great board of directors, by the way. And I could have gone to them and say, hey, I know we're excited about this. This is not the right thing. Here is why. They would have understood that. But yeah, I think a little insecurity, a little feeling like I had to do something instead of just doing the right things. And that was when the pressure's on, it's even more important.
I think a lot of leaders wrestle with that, regardless of the size of the company, small or huge. That you're the leader and you got to take action, right?
Yeah,
That's the expectation. That's why you lead, is you're here to make a decision in difficult times. And some leaders are, addicted to the adrenaline. Like,
right.
let's try something new, or let's just press on, or whatever the motivation is. What would you do differently the next time around?
Well, I think again, just for me, taking some time, praying about it. I keep a journal. And so every day, I'm writing in my journal, really just writing out all my thoughts, praying about that, giving that to God. What I think's a good idea, not a good idea, what I'm concerned about. And, I think even just taking a day or two doing that before
Mm.
moving forward, just to clarify. Well, one, I truly believe we get wisdom from God when we do that, when we spend time with God, and He will guide us and give us wisdom. I think I was in that stressful situation. Maybe I wasn't doing that. But then also just, that time to get some clarity, go to the team and say, yeah, I know we're excited about this. This is not what we're supposed to be doing. I
Mm.
I have, again, I can't say enough about all my employees. We really are fortunate there, but my leadership team, they are people of action, men and women of action. They are trying to, and honestly, a lot of times my role is to kind of pull back on the reins and say, hey, these are 24 great ideas. We're not doing all, let's pick the three, because they're just go, go, go. And that's great. I have to be the other way. I have to balance that. So I think just like coaching a sports team, you field the team you have, and
Mhm.
you got to coach them the right way. You got to put the right plays in. You got to, and so I have to lead this team differently than I may lead other teams. And fortunately, that's fits my leadership style is that slower. Fortunately, we're of a size and in a position where we're not going to go out of business on every deal if we make or break. We can look at them and pick and choose, and of course, yeah, you have that only so much you can do. So you gotta pick the right ones.
How do you do that? Like, is that a process? Is that a roll the dice? Is that a gut feel? Like, what? How do you guys go
Yeah,
through that process of picking?
yeah, we use a dartboard.
Good.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I feel like we do have a process. I still feel like sometimes it's a little how we're feeling that day, and we were just having that conversation last week that how do we get to where we're making these sound decisions every time, and it's not, oh, I was in a good mood so I said yes, or I was in a bad mood so I said no. So we use a process. I don't know if you talked about it on your show before. I'm sure you probably have, but EOS, Ontario Operating System Traction. So actually, tomorrow is our quarterly offsite. So we try to make these decisions in this 90-day cycle. So we're going to meet tomorrow. We've sent out some prep work. We've done some SWATs. We have weekly meetings and stuff. But tomorrow will be when we really look and say, okay, well, here's what we want to do over the next 90 days. In October, we have a full 2-day offsite. And that's really when we're saying, okay, here's an opportunity in this market. We think we have the right people, we have the right products. Let's go after that. Or, we got some test results on this product and it is working the way we think it's going to, or it's not. Or, hey, we thought skis was going to work out, but it doesn't seem like it. So we're going to cut that. That we try to make those big decisions at these meetings. Obviously we have to be open if you get new data along the way, but we're trying not to just a flavor of the month program. Oh,
Hmm.
we just got this piece, let's totally change the direction. Every idea is a good idea, type thing. So and I think the other thing is all the people on the leadership team, we all come in with it knowing none of us have a good idea out of the gate. So we'll come with ideas knowing, hey, this is probably not a great idea, but this is what I'm thinking about. We tear it apart, we build it back up and make it a great idea when it's 6 of us talking about it with all the input from all the levels.
Hmm.
And then we create those great ideas together.
How long have y'all been embracing the EOS methodology?
6 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Have you found your decision making has gotten better over the 6 years or stayed about the same or?
Oh, I think it's much better. I think a few things have changed over those 6 years. Some changes in personnel. It's been an interesting 6 years too. Because we started that and then we hit into COVID, and then we're manufacturers. We had all the destocking issues, and so it's challenge, and now now just uncertainty. So
Yeah.
how do we deal with that? So, but yeah, I think just the rhythm of the meetings and the process keeps us kind of between the guardrails. And yeah, I feel like our decision making is thoughtful and good. I think an area for us is it's hard for us to um, cut something loose. Like once we've decided to do something, we're very optimistic. So it's hard for us to say, yeah, this we should have. We need to stop this now. We keep coming up with excuses. Oh, let's try one more. Let's try, and we need to do a better job of cutting bad programs, not dwelling on them.
Dan, actually, that'd be a great way to start our next episode. So let's bring this one to a close, and then we'll
All right.
pick up with how do you pivot and discard something because we're as business leaders, well as humans, we're pretty good at collecting things. We're not so good at letting them go. So
Yeah. Yeah.
this has been a episode, getting to know you a little bit better. And thank you for your transparency and sharing. I've often asked the question of leaders on the show and off the show to, tell me about a time you failed. And that's really hard for leaders to say out loud. So appreciate your transparency with that and
Oh,
candid,
no problem. Yeah.
candid sharing.
For me, being in C12 and interacting with other leaders, the one of the most useful thing was that, oh, it's not just me. Once you get to know people, like, oh yeah, we're all messed up. We all make bad decisions, and you just pick yourself up and you move on. And that's what I think makes a strong leader is you just keep going at it and
Yeah,
learn from it.
that's very
Yeah.
good. Very good. All right. Well, thank you, sir. And we'll see you on the
Thank
next
you.
episode.
Excellent. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of A Leader's Journey podcast. If you enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to our channel.